enjoy watching innocent people suffer?
Well, yeah, I mean, who doesn't?
Well, then get me the wand.
Oh, Mal, your mother would be so proud of you. You took down the barrier and became the queen of the world. But wait a second, where is your mother? You sort of ditched her in Descendants 2 and never looked back. Are you going to help her shed her lizard skin or let her figure things out on her own? We'd put our money on the second option. After all, you're super busy now that you have a kingdom to run and a wedding to plan. The people have spoken and they want Descendants 4 because, as it turns out, fans still have a lot of questions that need answering. Watch until the end to find out who the new Core 4 would be. New leading ladies. Mal has always been the star of the show, but now that she's set to become queen, someone else should take her place as the coolest VK at Auradon Prep. We could think of no one better than Dizzy Tremaine. It's no secret that Dizzy is a fan favorite. Problem is, we hardly got to see her in Descendants 3. We loved how close Dizzy and Celia were, which is why fans would love it if D4 centered around these two leading ladies. They would make Mal and Evie so proud. The new wave. We never got to see the VKs graduate from Auradon Prep, which is a total bummer. We would love to see the VKs and AKs throw their caps up in celebration. If there's one thing fans would love to see in Descendants 4, it's a new wave of VKs and AKs walking the halls at Auradon Prep. There are so many interesting characters we never got to meet on the small screen. Keep watching to find out which magical sisters would make their grand debut in Descendants 4.
I was hoping you were home. Is this a joke?
Audrey's beau. Mal has Ben, Carlos has Jane, Evie has Doug, and Jay has Lonnie. And Gil? But what about the Queen of Mean? Fans have been wondering about Audrey's future boyfriend ever since they saw her flirting with Harry Hook at the end of Descendants 3. We all know that Audrey hasn't been the nicest person, but she wants to change. So we really want to see her get the happily ever after she always dreamed of. And let's face it, Chad Charming isn't the guy of her dreams.
It's all about you and me, baby. Do you enjoy watching innocent people suffer?
Well, yeah, I mean, who doesn't?
Well, then get me the wand.
Has anyone seen Maleficent? The question on everyone's lips is what happened to Maleficent? Surely the most powerful sorceress of all time won't be married to her lizard body for much longer. Fans want to see Maleficent make a grand comeback in D4. It would be so interesting to see Mal and her mom face off for a second time. Maleficent would undoubtedly be squeamish after spending so much time as a reptile. Do you think she would forgive Mal or seek revenge on her daughter's newfound kingdom? Tell us in the comments. What about Uma? As it turns out, Uma is as selfless as they come. She sacrificed her freedom to help her people and didn't garner any titles in the process. We thought that Uma would be appointed the rightful ruler of the Isle of the Lost, but that just didn't happen. We'd love to see Uma and Mal working together in Descendants 4. Uma could become one of Mal's royal advisors and start making a difference for VKs everywhere. We'd also love to see Uma fall in love. She may be a former villain, but the pirate still deserves her happily ever after. Gil and Jay's epic adventure. Gil and Jay totally hit it off midway through Descendants 3. Their bond was so explosive, it was sure to make Harry and Carlos a little jealous. We love how they made plans to tour the world, but we sorta wish that we could catch a sneak peek of their epic adventure. How fun would it be if Mal received a magical postcard from Gil and Jay at the beginning of D4? They would probably be surfing on a whale's back with huge grins on their faces. The reunion. We know Belle and Beast are going to attend Ben and Mal's wedding, but what about Hades and Maleficent? If there's one musical number we need to see in D4, it's a duet sung by Hades and Maleficent. Fans want to get the full scoop on their relationship. They need to know why and how it came to an end.
No, I left your mother. She's...
Hades and Maleficent have some unfinished business, which is why their duet would be the song of the ages. Elsa and Anna. Elsa and Anna are nowhere to be found. Fans would love it if Elsa and Anna had small roles in Descendants 4. It would be so fun to see them dropping their kids off at school. And you never know, they might even help Dizzy and Celia form the new Core 4. The merge. Now that the barrier has been taken down, things are going to change in Oridon for good. Fans are curious to find out how the fashion in Oridon will change now that the VKs and AKs have merged together. They'd also like to see how the AKs and VKs interact with one another. Have they let bygones be bygones, or have they continued to oppose each other? The royal wedding. But the most anticipated moment of Descendants 4 has to be Ben and Mal's royal wedding. If D4 doesn't end up happening, fans hope that the Disney Channel will at least release a short film of Ben and Mal's wedding. What do you want to see in Descendants 4? Sound off in the comments.
Can I get a drum roll, please?
So she's definitely taken.
Definitely.
Okay, Mal, we know you were deeply in love with King Ben at the end of Descendants 3, but would you have gone on to have kids with him? Or would your VK roots have pulled you over to Harry Hook? We know the two of you have serious chemistry in the movie, and in real life too, of course. Regardless of which guy you choose in the end, one thing's for sure, there's no keeping that purple hair down. Your kid is sure to inherit that. What would the next generation of VKs look like in Descendants 4? We're imagining all the key couples' kids, as well as other pairings that might have gotten together. Keep watching to the end to discover which unlikely couple would have an awesome-looking kid. Plenty of fans have been shipping them. Mal and Ben. We're starting with the biggest VK-AK alliance in the whole franchise, and we can just imagine Mal and Ben with an adorable daughter. Ben has hazel eyes, and Mal, of course, has striking green eyes, so it's pretty much a given that their little girl would follow in those footsteps. As for hair color, we can't help to think that this little one will take after her mom. Of course, Mal has gone through different shades from blonde to blue, but purple is her signature hue.
I couldn't be prouder or happier to call you my queen.
Mal and Harry. There's no denying there's chemistry between Mal and Harry Hook. And with Dove Cameron and Thomas Doherty dating in real life, let's have a little fun with art imitating life. What if Mal and Ben broke up, and Mal and Harry had a kid? We see these two VKs having a son, and he'd be a mix of his parents' key looks.
I believe I deserve some compensation.
With his dad's dark hair, this little boy would represent his mom with an awesome purple streak right through it. Of course, he'd wear guy liner, just like his dad and his granddad, Hades. Audrey and Harry. When it comes to Harry, Mal might have competition on her hands from AK turns VK turns AK again Audrey. After all, Audrey and Harry got a little friendly at the end of D3. Imagine if they had a little girl. We'd love to see Audrey's pale pink and blue streaks in mini-me form on her daughter. But what would she inherit from her pirate father? His love of ruffle collars and leather, of course. Evie and Doug. Evie's blue hair is her signature look, so we can't imagine her daughter with Doug having anything other than blueberry locks. Given that Doug grew out his hair to epic lengths in D3, we're certain that their kid would have a following mane too. But this little girl would inherit something special from her daddy: gorgeous green eyes. How cute would it be for Mal and Evie's daughters to be green-eyed twins? She'd be super well dressed in blue and red too, thanks to her fashion designer mother. Evie and Carlos. So many Descendants fans shipped Evie and Carlos, so we have to imagine what their little boy would look like. Don't you think Carlos's white hair would look amazing with Evie's blue hair showing through at the roots? We'd also love to see Carlos's freckles being inherited by his son with Evie. With their dark brown eyes being passed on to their boy, he'd be totally striking. Jane and Carlos. Carlos was actually head over heels in love with Jane, of course, so the likelihood is that this couple would go the distance. We see them having a little girl, who would dress in lacy blue outfits just like her mom. Their daughter would inherit Jane's beautiful blue eyes too. She'd have her daddy's hair though. Just imagine Carlos's white locks on a girl, all the way down to her waist. Truly stunning.
You just gotta man up. And while you're at it, scratch my butt.
Jay and Lonnie. There's no way Jay and Lonnie's children wouldn't have long dark locks. Just look at their parents. We could see this couple having a boy and a girl, and these siblings would have matching manes. As their dad has proven, boys can rock man buns, so they could wear their hair in matching styles, and they would totally rock red leather outfits to represent their grandfather Jafar. Dizzy and Squeaky. Squeaky would likely have twins, but rather than boys, he'd have identical girls, and we'd love to see him having those twins with fellow VK Dizzy Tremaine. But how would they tell their kids apart? Well, that'd be thanks to their mom's mad hairdressing skills.
Oh, what is this? Bored to death pink?
Just like Dizzy's multicolored space buns, these girls would have their own cool style, but one would have blue and green streaks, while the other would have red and yellow streaks. That's against the bright blonde hair they'd have inherited from their dad. Celia and Squirmy. As for Squirmy, his son would rock a pair of black-framed eyeglasses like a cool geek. We're matching Squirmy with the other D3 VK, Celia, and we could see her curly red hair being passed on to her little boy. Combined with his dad's red beanie hand-me-down, this kid would be rocking the red look all over. Uma and Ben. Are you shipping Ben and Uma? If so, you're going to love what their kid would look like. We can't imagine their son with anything other than aqua blue plaits tied back. And like his dad, he'd wear a royal blue shirt. He'd be one amazing mashup of a pirate and a king. The rest of the VKs better beware. This boy is ready to rule Auradon and the Isle.
You being our queen?
Congratulations on your engagement, Mal. You're going to be the best queen Auradon has ever seen. It's a new chapter for Auradon and the Isle of the Lost. You and Ben will be so happy together, but we want to know what happens next. What is your wedding going to be like? What happens to Carlos? We have so many questions, and we want answers.
I can't.
Descendants 3 was epic, but we already want more. If there was a Descendants 4 movie, what would it be about? Keep watching for some fan theories that make total sense.
Hey, it's your bae.
The Royal Wedding. Move over, William and Kate. Step aside, Harry and Meghan. There is only one royal wedding that we really care about. We want to see Mal and Ben get married. We want to see the wedding gown that Evie designs, and we definitely want to know who Mal's bridesmaids will be. Evie is obviously her maid of honor, but do you think Uma and Jane will be her bridesmaids? And let's be honest, we definitely want to see the moment that Mal officially becomes Queen of Auradon and the Isle. Some fans have suggested that Descendants 4 could open with a royal wedding. Others have suggested that Disney Channel could release a short film of just the wedding. We wonder if Maleficent would come. Mal would have to turn her back into a human since we're pretty sure she's still a lizard. The new VKs. Descendants 3 brought 4 new villain kids to Auradon. Those were Dizzy Tremaine, Celia Facilier, and Squeaky and Squirmy Smee. The core 4 have moved on from their time at Auradon Prep. Descendants 4 could focus on these 4 new VKs. Celia is definitely the ringleader, and Dizzy is going to bring a whole new level of fashion to the school. We would love to see more about these characters.
And the lack of flies.
Plus, the barrier is now permanently open. Auradon Prep will get a lot more VKs. It would be awesome to see how Auradon Prep changes with all the new kids. They will have new challenges and new adventures that the original 4 didn't have. Honestly, a movie about Celia and Dizzy would be absolutely amazing. The next generation. Here's another popular theory for Descendants 4. What if the movie takes place in the distant future? We could see the kids of Mal and Ben, who would be prince and princesses. It would be fun to see if they are tough like Mal or kind like Ben. Growing up with Hades as your grandpa would be a blast. Doug and Evie's kids would be the perfect combination of smart and stylish. Evie would have upgraded from her starter castle to a really nice one. Their kids would be BFFs with Mal's children. We could find out if Jay ends up with Lonnie or not. Will Uma get married and have kids? Or will she be the cool aunt to Mal's family? And will Harry and Audrey end up together? Their kids would be the perfect antagonists in Descendants 4. Hopefully they would learn how to be good just like their parents did. What about Carlos? The whole world was devastated with the loss of Cameron Boyce. He was definitely taken too soon. If Disney ever made a Descendants 4, they would have to address the fact that Carlos is gone. It wouldn't be fair to just recast him. So what happens to Carlos? The most obvious way to explain his absence is actually mentioned in Descendants 3. He says that his mom, Cruella, will be really disappointed when she finds out that he wants to be a vet.
His mom is Cruella de Vil. I'm petrified.
Wait till she hears I want to be a vet.
He could be off at veterinarian school. It takes a long time to become a vet. You have to get your bachelor's degree first, which takes 4 to 5 years. And then vet school is another 4 years. That's at least 8 years that Carlos will have to be away from Oridon. He could also go off to rescue animals after vet school too. In our hearts, Jarlos is forever. So we would love for Descendants 4 to mention Carlos and Jane throughout the film. Life with the villains. Now that the barrier is open forever, there is a whole new set of issues. Magic will now work on the Isle of the Lost, and the villains who were imprisoned there can come to Oridon. That is going to cause some serious conflict. King Ben and Queen Mal definitely have their work cut out for them, so maybe all the villains aren't that bad. Hades just wants to be god of the underworld again. He really came through for Mal and Oridon at the end, so we won't have to worry about him. Dr. Facilier is a really great dad. We think his love for Celia will keep him honest. But what about the rest of the villains? Cruella de Vil and Maleficent are not nice people, and we never met some of the villains like Captain Hook and Ursula. We have a hard time believing that they'll all decide to behave. Since banishing and imprisoning people on the Isle isn't an option anymore, Ben and Mal will have to find other ways to keep the people of Oridon safe. Maybe they'll make a rehabilitation center for the villains who are having a hard time being good. It would be so cool to see how Oridon and the Isle mesh together in the brand new world Ben and Mal have created. So, what do you guys think? Is the story really over? And what would you want to see in Descendants 4? Tell us in the comments.
How could you forget what she did to us? How could you forget that I was supposed to be your queen?
You will go, you will find the fairy godmother, and you will bring me back her magic wand. Easy peasy.
Could Maleficent and Audrey team up in Descendants 4? You and Maleficent have a lot in common, Audrey. It's almost as if you're the daughter she's always wanted. How ironic is that? It's really too bad that Maleficent is still stuck in her lizard form. If you could find a way to change her back, you could work together to boot Mal off the throne. It's a win-win, really. We just hope you put your evil days behind you, or else Mal will rue the day that she ever stepped foot in Oridon. Maleficent and Audrey have a common enemy, but will that be enough for them to team up in Descendants 4? If D4 ever happens, we'd love to see Audrey and Maleficent join forces and attempt to take over Oridon. Keep watching to find out which major clue from Descendants 3 hinted towards Audrey and Maleficent working together. With the way things ended in Descendants 3, you would never suspect that Audrey still had a bone to pick with Ben and Mal. But we're not buying Audrey's good girl act.
I wanted to hurt you both. I wanted to hurt all of you.
But let's be real, she wanted to hurt them long before that. Audrey was shocked when Ben proposed to Mal, so much so that she went to steal the queen's crown from the museum. Ben and Mal finally apologized to Audrey when Hades saved her, but their apology was long overdue. Audrey might feel bad about what she did, but she still wants to be the queen, and Mal is still living the life that Audrey always wanted. So her good girl act is bound to fade sooner than later. Audrey literally screamed when Ben proposed to Mal, so imagine what she'll do when the lovers exchange I-dos. Audrey will probably receive an invite to the wedding, which is almost as bad as not being invited at all. She'll be forced to watch the man of her dreams marry someone else. But you know who won't be invited to the wedding? Maleficent, Mal's very own mother. We know for a fact that Maleficent doesn't like being left off the guest list, so we wouldn't be surprised if the little evil lizard slithered her way into Audrey's thoughts. What better way to stop a wedding than to let Maleficent crash it? But finding Maleficent and turning her back into an evil fairy won't be easy. Luckily for Audrey, she and Maleficent are fated to team up and even out the score. Maleficent terrorized Audrey's family, so she would be the last person Audrey went to for help, right? Well, not exactly. The Descendants franchise has a knack for irony, so Audrey and Maleficent could very well end up working together. After all, Evie ended up falling in love with Doug, who's the son of one of her mom's sworn enemies. It takes a very special person to work with Maleficent, and Maleficent is known for going solo. She's got some major trust issues and only really trusts her pet raven, Diablo, and her scepter, Dragon's Eye. But for some strange reason, her scepter called out to Audrey when she crossed paths with it. But most surprisingly, the scepter let Audrey use it without condemning her to 1,000 years of sleep. So clearly, Audrey and Maleficent share a special bond. After all, Mal walked by that very same scepter in that very same museum, and it never called out to her. What makes Audrey and Maleficent even better allies is that they both have common goals. First and foremost, Maleficent wants to get revenge on Mal, who totally betrayed her in the first Descendants movie.
Leave my friends alone! This is between you and me, Mother.
Obviously, Mal made the right choice, but she did keep her mom as a pet lizard instead of returning her to the Isle. Both Maleficent and Audrey want to show Mal who's boss, and they most definitely aren't okay with her ruling over Auradon and the Isle of the Lost after what she did to them. We just hope that Maleficent doesn't want to be queen, because that would put Audrey and Maleficent at odds. The first thing Audrey would need to do is get her hands on Maleficent's scepter again. Then she could use it to locate Maleficent and undo the spell that turned her into the lizard in the first place. Then Audrey could fill Maleficent in on the last year's events, and they could plan to ruin Mal and Ben's wedding. Since Audrey still wants to be liked by the people of Auradon, it's in her best interest to act innocent. Once Mal's out of the picture, Audrey could put a love spell on Ben and con her way onto the throne. Maleficent always feared that Mal wasn't evil enough. She pushed Mal to commit terrible crimes and saw her daughter's good nature get in the way time and time again. That's a problem she'll never have with Audrey. Audrey has been a mean girl since day one. She takes what she thinks she deserves and lashes out when things don't go as planned. Audrey is the daughter Maleficent always wanted, and together they could come close to taking over Auradon. We can already imagine the look on everyone's face when Maleficent crashes her daughter's wedding, just like she did at Aurora's christening. The fact that Maleficent's scepter chose Audrey has to mean something. Audrey will stop at nothing to be the queen of Auradon, but if usurping Mal is on her agenda, Maleficent and Audrey better succeed. No ifs, ands, or buts. Because if they fail, Mal won't hesitate to turn both of them into lizards and let her future children keep them as pets. Do you think Audrey is done with being the queen of mean, or will she strike again on Ben and Mal's wedding day? Sound off in the comments. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed our video. Don't forget to subscribe to The Things. We'll catch you next time.